And a very, very good morning from here in our Edinburgh studio. Welcome to All In with Ali. Top of the hour here in Edinburgh, 81 degrees and sunny. It's a great day outside. It's been great weather all week. Welcome to All In with Ali. We're going to be doing a little bit of an abridged program this week, but shortened program. Nonetheless, we should have some great sports to talk about today, starting with we now have a matchup for the World Series. That's right. And a World Series that the league and two fan bases really wanted and 28 other teams didn't want to watch. But we have our World Series nonetheless. It's the New York Yankees against the Los Angeles Dodgers, top seed against top seed. And even though, some fan bases might not like it, we're still going to see, some great matchups up and down both rosters. Two MVP caliber talents in Judge and Ohtani facing off there. Some great pitching by both teams. Both teams have got some deep bullpens. Both teams have got some deep lineups too. And stars up and down should be a good one. I think it goes to about 6 or 7 games, but I think I'm going to predict that the Yankees are going to win this World Series in 6 to 7, mostly because Freddie Freeman is not at 100%, and if you wanted to make a deep run, they already made it to the World Series, but if you want to make a whole run to win it, you're going to need Freddie Freeman at 100%. If he can go through it, the Dodgers have a chance, but we've already seen him sit out a couple of games this postseason dealing with that injury, so it's going to be tough, but I still think this series goes to 7 games, and I think it's going to be Yankees in 7. So we'll kick it off tomorrow night with the World Series at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. And that game will be on Channel 2 and will be on Fox. First game should feature a good pitcher's duel. The Yankees will be sending Garrett Cole to the mound, and the Dodgers will send Jack Flaherty. Another thing I'd like to talk about this week, huge loss by Texas. I was saying last week that this is the game that the Longhorns were going to have to win to prove that they were a legit contender for the national title. I think after this loss last week, 30-15 against Georgia at your own house, it's going to be tough, I think. Texas, I think they're still going to make the college football playoffs, but my view on that and sort of how I think it's going to go for the Longhorns, I don't see them making it all the way because you're going to have to beat tough teams like Georgia, tough teams like that to make it to the top. But, we'll have to wait and see. And then another thing that happened interestingly enough during this game was when the refs made a call. And I thought it was right to overturn it, but the way the fans reacted is just, not a good look. It's never a good look to see your own fans throwing beer onto the field. I get that fans are angry and disagree with calls. That happens all the time, but to throw stuff onto the field, it's, that's not acceptable. That shouldn't happen. It's not a good look. I thought it was correct that they overturned it, and it wasn't because of the fans that they overturned it, but, it's still not a good look nonetheless. Next week, though, in college football, we got a pretty good matchup that I think we should keep an eye out on. LSU goes to Kyle Field to take on the Aggies. Number 8, LSU going in ranked number 8. Texas A&M going in ranked number 14. Two top 15 teams will clash in an SEC duel. I think that should be a great match. Keep an eye out on that one. And last and certainly not least, I'd like to talk about something that went on in the Champions League. Real Madrid against Borussia Dortmund at the Bernabeu. That was, just classic Real Madrid in the Champions League. I mean, you first of all, a 2-0 lead, it can disappear, like that at the drop of a hat. It's not a safe lead at any sport, especially not in soccer or in football or however you want to call it. It's never a safe lead being up by 2 goals because As soon as the other team scores one goal, all of a sudden, if you were coasting, if you were just coasting by on a 2-0 lead, all of a sudden it's a one-goal game and you just got caught napping. And I think that's exactly how it went down for Dortmund. They were up 2-0 at the end of the first half, and they were just coasting on that, and that sort of played through. But after Rudiger scored the first goal, you could really, as soon as he scored the first goal, you knew it was going to be Madrid Magic in the Champions League once again. And then after that, Vinny with a hat trick. Madrid ended up winning that game 5-2. It was just they were just absolutely pouring it on in the second half of that match, and like it's been said many times before, a 2-0 lead is the most dangerous lead because all of a sudden you concede one and it's a one-goal game, and they have all the momentum and you just got caught napping, and that's exactly how it went down there. And it doesn't really help their case that Madrid is always a serious contender to win it all in the Champions League year after year after year. Next segment we'll talk a little bit of NBA. We'll talk some other sports. Well, stay tuned to All In with Ali. We'll be back after this break from your local station. Empire State of Mind, Jay-Z featuring Alicia Keys to end the break there. Welcome back to All In with Ali. Let's talk NBA. That got started this week. And first thing I'd like to talk about, the first father-son duo in NBA history started at the Wolves-Lakers game. Bronny James and his father LeBron James, all-time legend and the greatest of all time, took the court together as the first father-son duo in basketball history. I can't remember the last time there was this much buzz around a father-son duo. There's usually always is around these type of duos in sports, but last I remember was before I was born, when Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. played together on the Seattle Mariners in the MLB a long time ago. Griffey Jr. had a better career, I thought, than Griffey Sr. And this could be the other way around because, Bronny could be a great player in this league. I wouldn't doubt it. But, those are some big shoes to fill when you're being compared to LeBron James. And as for how that game ended, well, Lakers took their opener in their season opener against the Timberwolves 110-103. Basketball is back, and I can't wait for the rest of this year. It's especially tonight because the Spurs, they open their season tonight at 6:30 on the road against the Mavs. And I'm excited for this year. I would like to believe, but I'd have to see it to believe it at first, I'm glad Wemby has Chris Paul now, someone who could consistently get him the ball and get the ball to the big man. And it's going to be great. Let's see what sort of leaps and bounds Wemby's going to take this year. He had an incredible rookie season, but it's up to his second year to sort of prove that he can stay in this league. And I think absolutely that he can. The talent's there. He's just an incredible defender. He's so hard to guard against. Offensively too, so we'll have to see. Spurs on the up and up for the next few years, and that all starts tonight at 6:30. More stuff to talk about. A lot of buzz around the Clippers. They lost the first game of the season, but it was the debut of the Intuit Dome that they had spent years and a lot of money building. And I'm glad for one that it was all privately funded. That usually, especially here in the States, you see a lot of owners who are worth a lot of money and can finance the stadiums themselves. They go to the cities that they're in asking, can we get like $1 billion for you to build us a stadium, and we see all the money from it? I don't really think that we should be using a lot of public money to build stadiums. It's especially if the owners are seeing most of the return from it and the cities are not. But yeah, this was all privately financed by the Clippers, and it's an incredible arena. I mean, I just saw the first videos, the first pictures that came out from the game there, and I mean, it's incredible. It's got all the things you'd expect from a brand new NBA arena. I mean, it's nice, it's modern, it's clean, it's got all the luxury suites and all the seating that you'd want, and the Clippers knew how to put on a show with their first arena. And then what I like the most about it, was the wall behind the other basket. I mean, teams are going to be shooting into that in the second half of games, and just to see a big wall of Clippers fans, and I mean that's where they want their loudest, most energetic, most passionate fans. And I mean, it worked. It's an incredible sight, and especially if you're shooting free throws in that direction and you're on the opposing team, it's just, such an imposing thing, and it's wow. I think it's going to be one of the great venues in the NBA for years to come, and I'm glad the Clippers got that, and that they don't have to share a space with the Lakers at the Staples Center, or I guess it's now the Crypto.com Arena. But growing up, I knew it as the Staples Center. A lot of NBA fans knew it as the Staples Center, and I wouldn't be surprised to see many NBA fans still calling the place the Staples Center. I mean, that's what it's always been, and that's what it will continue to be known as, even though it has a brand new naming deal. Next thing, I'd like to talk about some drama surrounding the 76ers, as the league is investigating how the team is managing Joel Embiid. I mean, he wasn't going to be playing in the first game of the year. He didn't play much of preseason, and I guess the issue there is that the league isn't really liking how they're excessively load managing Joel Embiid just to have him stay healthy for the playoffs. I mean, it's already too early to think about the playoffs. I mean, it's week 1 just for starters, and 2, you never know how your season's going to go. So I don't know. I mean, this is why a lot of eyes are on the NBA until the playoffs, because the stars are on the court all the time and on the playoffs, and even then there's some load managing there. But during the regular season, you don't really see as much, because teams are load managing their best players during the regular season. And I think that's the issue the NBA has here. That's the issue that's being investigated by the league, and we'll have to see what comes of that. And you never know. I don't know what's going to be the case here. It's a little bit too early in that news cycle to see what's going on, to see what's happening in that regard. Next segment, stick around. We're going to be talking NFL on this day in sports history and much more after the break. Borderline by Tame and Paula to close out the break. Welcome back to All In with Ali. Let's talk NFL. And first, before we get into anything, some more or less breaking news I'd like to talk about in the NFL. The Green Bay Packers have hired former Jets head coach Robert Saleh to join the Packers coaching staff going forward, as announced by Packers head coach Matt LaFleur. LaFleur said this, according to Football Forever on Instagram, said that Saleh's role is fluid and it involves him analyzing the Packers offense to bring in a defensive perspective. I said this before when Saleh got fired by the Jets, that he wasn't going to remain unemployed for long. Some coaching staff in the league was going to want him, and it appears that he is heading to Wisconsin. He's going to Green Bay. And I think that was an incredible hire by the Packers. I mean, Saleh, as we know, was coined as one of the best defensive minds in football when he was hired by the Jets to be their head coach, and looks like he'll continue bringing that role. He'll sort of bring a defensive perspective to the Packers offense, and who knows, we might see his role increasing going forward. But yeah, that was a good hire, I thought, by the Green Bay Packers. He was pictured at the Packers training facility, and he was pictured at Lambeau Field just before this hire was announced, and it appears that, according to LaFleur, that this is now being made official. Let's talk about what happened last week in Week 7. Chiefs and 49ers. First, I'd like to talk about that. I mean, both teams are going in injured. I mean, absolutely decimated by injuries. I think the 49ers got the worst of it. Brandon Ayuk was just announced that he's going to be out for the season this year with an ACL tear, and it's getting a little thin over in San Francisco. They got a matchup against the Cowboys this week, who also have dealt with their own injury issues. But regardless, the Chiefs remain undefeated. They're 6-0 right now. And to address the injuries that they've had, they don't have Hollywood Brown. They lost Rashee Rice for the year. So the Chiefs went out about on Tuesday or Monday. They went out, or a couple days ago rather. They went out and got DeAndre Hopkins. They traded for him. He now leaves Tennessee and goes over to Kansas City, which is about as great of a quarterback upgrade as you can ask for if you're a wide receiver going from a rookie Will Levis to Patrick Mahomes. So great news for those of you who have him on your fantasy teams. Great news for the Chiefs, who get some help at the wide receiver position, and that was a good move by them. Colts Dolphins, I'd like to talk about. It's a little bit of a sluggish game, in which both offense didn't want to score, and especially the Dolphins offense, they didn't look good without Tua Tagovailoa coming back to quarterback. But they do get him back next week for Week 8, and all of the Dolphins weapons who had great years with Tua under center, they're expecting to have big bounce back weeks. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, all of whom performed well with Tua at quarterback. He now returns, and he now gets to bring back that scheme that's brought the Dolphins offense so much success over the last few years. But yeah, Dolphins barely scraped by and took that game against the Colts. Titans Bills, another one I'd like to talk about. We know DeAndre Hopkins, he's now a Chief, but he was a Titan during this game, but he didn't come out with the win. That would go to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen looked good, but my goodness, what a debut for Amari Cooper. The Bills went into it without a number one wide receiver. They went out and got a number one wide receiver, and with another wide receiver getting a quarterback upgrade, going from Deshaun Watson to Josh Allen, he went off and he absolutely tore it up. I mean, he was eating the Titans secondary for breakfast, lunch, and dinner in that game. And I think Amari Cooper was a good pickup. He's going to be a huge part of that Bills offense going forward. And speaking of Deshaun Watson, it might be the end of his career for him. It announced he was out for the season with a non-contact injury. I mean, he was not a very good quarterback in his time with the Browns, and looks like they're going. The Browns are browning once again. Monday night doubleheader to talk about Ravens-Bucks. I mean, the Ravens' running game was absolutely impressive, as it usually is. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry combined, but Derrick Henry absolutely stole the show. Had some huge runs. Had a touchdown or two. I can't exactly remember that off the top of my head right now. Let me go ahead and double check it. But regardless, the Ravens took that game, and I did not understand the decision by Todd Bowles to keep Chris Godwin in the game. I mean, on the final drive, you were down already by 10 points. The game was basically already over, and you kept Chris Godwin in there, and then he gets injured, and he's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks too. That was absolutely a boneheaded decision by Todd Bowles to keep him in that game. I didn't understand it. And now they're going to lose. Now the Bucks are going to be down two of their best weapons, and who is Baker Mayfield going to throw to? It's going to be tough. There's a lot of questions to be answered of Tampa Bay right now, and here are Derrick Henry's final stats. He rushed for 169 yards. He had 13 receiving yards and had a touchdown reception in that game as well. Huge numbers for Derrick Henry, who keeps on doing this at the age of 30. I mean, when is it time to start talking about Derrick Henry as a Hall of Fame running back? I think that discussion should be starting pretty soon. He's probably going to end up getting a gold jacket with what he's done over his career. And how the Cowboys didn't even give his agent a call this offseason, I don't know. That would have solved their running game issue for sure. But, what happened happened. Anyway, Week 8 matchups to look forward to. Bears and Commanders. If Jaden Daniels is to play in this game is a must-watch. I mean, two rookie quarterbacks who have had great seasons going and dueling. Hopefully Jaden Daniels is healthy and ready to go for that game. If he is, this is a must-watch. Sunday at 3:25 p.m. Another great quarterback duel to keep an eye on. Cardinals-Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa coming back from injury. And Kyler Murray, who had an electric 44-yard rushing touchdown, doing what he does best. And both teams have good quarterbacks. Both teams have great weapons for their quarterbacks, and it should be an offensive showdown. Moving on now, on this day in sports history, in 1976, James Hunt wins the Japanese Grand Prix and wins the World Drivers' Championship over Niki Lauda by 1 point. This, as you may or may not know, was later made into a movie in 2013 called Rush. It's a great movie. If you're a Formula One fan, I absolutely recommend that you watch it. It's an incredible film telling the story of this season and the story of the sort of rivalry and friendship between Rush and Niki Lauda. 2012, Pablo Sandoval becomes the fourth player in Major League Baseball history to hit 3 home runs in a World Series game, clubbing 3 against the Tigers, 2 of them off of future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander. Giants won that game 8-3 and would later take the World Series in a 4-0 sweep of the Detroit Tigers. Pablo Sandoval was awarded World Series MVP for this performance. And last but certainly not least, Tom Brady becomes the first and so far only quarterback to record 600 touchdown passes, doing so in 2021. He completed a pass to Mike Evans in the first quarter of a game against the Chicago Bears in Tampa. To accomplish the feat, the Buccaneers won 38-3 at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay. That's going to be all for this week. It's a bit of an abridged program this week. But we do have an incredible day of UTRGV sports coming up. We got volleyball coming up right now at noon. Results will be posted to utrgvwriter.com or to the athletics website at goutrgv.com. And then we also have men's soccer at 6:30. Again, those results will be posted on the Writer after the game or at athletics' website. We got a full program next week, a full slate of NFL games, Mid-World Series recap, and much more on All In with Ali next week. We got office hours with Dr. V from our Edinburgh studio at 10 a.m. tomorrow, so make sure to tune in for that and for all the incredible programs here on Vaquero Radio. This has been your host, Ali. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day. And look out, because Spider-Man's here. We saw him not too long ago. If you see him, well, he's here. Have a great day, folks. Thank you for tuning in.